Hello everyone and thanks for watching our Ensemble Special on January 7th, 2023. So for our first video today, we're going through the ensemble plots from the GFS GEM, ICON and ECMWF on weathersunshore.d, and we're just going through these four models, their ensembles, their temperatures at 850 HPA, snow depth possibilities, 2-meter temperatures, precipitation, and sea level pressure. You can see all these options on the left hand side here. I know that you're probably looking at this thinking that it looks like a big science project. It looks very, very messy. It looks very, very complicated. But don't worry, once I explain it, I'm sure you'll have quite a good understanding of what this is all about. But even if you don't after the end of this, it's perfectly okay, because when I first saw this, I thought that it was very complicated myself, because it's really just a big graph full of lines, basically, squiggly lines at that. So if I zoom in on the graph, now here we go. Then I'll start explaining it. There we go. It's perfect size. So you can see that this is a GFS for Dublin in Ireland, and it was run on Saturday, January 7th. 2023, that's today, at midnight. And you see here, this red line, that's pretty horizontal most of the time, is the 30-year upper air temperature average, the 61 to 90 upper air temperature average for Dublin at 850 HPA, which I said in the videos is 1.5 kilometers above sea level, and is the place where the pressure is generally around 850 HPA, or millibars, hectopascals. So this is the average going through here, pretty horizontal, a few ups and downs, and you can see that the average temperature on the scale here, the temperature scale at 850 HPA, is around -1 or -2 degrees for Dublin at 850 HPA for January, going into the middle of the month. Also on the bottom we have the dates, so you can see today is January 7th, tomorrow is January 8th, that's there. It's going up in two, so January 9th is there, the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and on it goes into the second half of the month. And then we have what we call ensembles, so every line here, apart from the operational run, and I'll explain what that is later on. The thick green line, see, I'll just try and point it out. Here we go, that's perfect. Here, where I've got the mouse, the thick green line, that's the GFS operational run. And that is the main run of the GFS. The main run that is run at a higher definition or resolution, and that is what I show you in the videos, in the updates. The run that you see is the GFS operational run, but it is far from being the only GFS run there is. And that leads me on to ensemble. So every other line, apart from the thick blue line, I'll explain that in a second. That's this line here, if you can see the mouse. Just rocketing up there. And there as well. Every other line, like this orange line right here, this brown line right there, this green line right here, this green line right there, this blue line right there. These are ensembles, and these are the members of the GFS when the GFS is run not once, not just once. It is run several times, and each run is started with slightly different starting conditions, because these starting conditions can play a big change in the weather, say in 10 days time. Like the position of high pressure and low pressure might be changed slightly on different ensemble members, and that will create a whole different outcome in the long term. And there are 30 ensemble members of the GFS, so you can see nicely. Ensemble member number 1 is that blue line. Number 2 is that blue line. 3 is slightly lighter in the blue colour. Floor is sort of like turquoise. 5 is turquoise, definitely. Ensemble number 6 is turquoise green sort of shading. Ensemble 7 is green. 8 is green. So you get my gist, I suppose. All these ensemble members going up to ensemble member number 30. And also we have a run that's called the control run, which is another GFS run. And then this is the average line. That's all of the ensemble members, and the control and the operational run put together, and the average upper air temperature for a certain time, and it is put on the white line. So you can see on January 10th at midnight, the average upper air temperature out of all the ensembles and the operational run and the control run is minus 1.9 degrees Celsius. So that is all that put together and divided out by 32, obviously. That's how you get the average. So each ensemble member has a different outcome because it was run at a different starting position, and the operational run is run at a higher resolution, so it's more likely to be more accurate. So this is what the ensemble graph is. It gives you a good indication of what the ensembles are forecasting into the long term. So if I start here on January 8th, you can see that we currently have the upper air temperatures slightly above average here, right there, right a bit above the red line at about freezing, but then they'll drop a bit slightly below freezing into January 8th and 9th, towards minus 4 degrees there on January 9th towards 10th, but then we get a warm sector probably into January 10th, and that lifts the upper air temperature up to around 5 degrees at 850 HPA, so got a big mild sector coming in, but then we get another colder sector, and temperatures go to around minus 2 or minus 3 at 850 HPA for January 12th. And then they rise again towards freezing, and drop again, and rise again, and drop again. And I think I've said this before, but this constant up and down in the upper air temperatures is very symbolic of a zonal setup. So you got westerly winds across the Atlantic, low pressure over Iceland, high pressure over Iberia and the Azores, and you're putting in westerly winds with rain showers, strong winds, and these alternating milder and colder air masses. But as we go towards the end of this graph, you notice that the white line goes quite consistently below the red line, which is suggesting that from the 16th of January onwards, we are likely to see a lowering in the upper air temperatures towards about minus 2 or minus 3 degrees. Now, most of the ensemble members have the upper air temperatures. If I can get this out of the way, this whole graph of upper air temperatures, this white box out of the way, that'd be grand, but I don't think I can get out of the way. But if I just move this, okay, perfect. You can see that from around 18th to 22nd of January, most of the ensembles have the upper air temperatures between 0 and minus 5 Celsius at 850 HPA. That's the main trend. But you can see this thick green line, the GFS operational run, goes really quite cold into the longer term, towards minus 8 Celsius at 850 HPA. That will probably bring snow. Quite a few of these ensembles will actually bring snow into the end of January. And the reason why I'm showing you this graph, is that it gives you a good indication of the likely trends into the long term. Because you're not looking at just one forecast model, you're looking at several. And the way they go, like say, if I have 20 ensemble members going cold and 10 going mild, then I can say that I've got quite a strong signal that it might go cold in the second half of January. So that's the whole point of these graphs. If you look at precipitation, then you can see that. So these are precipitation spikes here. Dates on the bottom. The amount of rain or snow in millimeters on the top, on the y-axis, should I say, and that's the x-axis. So we're going along a few showers around 8th and 9th of January, but we get a big spell of rain around the 10th of January. Look at that big spike right there. As we go along as well, just several spikes of rain. So again, showing that we're in a zonal spell, cold and warm sectors alternating each other, and spells of rain coming in off the Atlantic. And again, we've got these ensemble members, the GFS operational run shown by this thick green line, and the average line, this white line that occasionally pops out of the floor of the graph. New snow depth spikes then. So oops, why did I do that? So obviously this won't look quite as overwhelming as the other graphs did. So if I just zoom in on this, you can see that we got no snow coming up. No snow, no snow, no snow, no snow. Possibly some snow just after the middle point of January. Possibly some snow. A few spikes showing up there. Some ensemble members going for snow. You can see the average line just coming up off the floor of the graph. Then we can look at sea level pressure. So again, we have the ensemble members all shown here, the GFS operational run there, and the average line right here, this white line. And it's going for a general rise in pressure in the longer term. So we could be in for a bit of a pressure build, but still, with the average line is about 1010 millibars by the end of the run, and that is that's still quite low pressure. So we're still looking quite cyclonic into the long term. So we're gonna look at the ECMWF ensembles then. We'll just go through this swiftly because I've already explained how these work. So there are 50 ensemble members with the ECMWF, so this looks quite overwhelming, I'd say. But same sort of signal, slight cool down over the next few days, but then we get a big warm sector on Tuesday, colder then, warmer, but then after the middle of the month, we do see a colder trend there if you follow the average line, and there's a big cluster of ensembles going down to around -3 degrees at 850 in the long term. So that's something to watch. We could get a bit cooler, but I've seen this before that often comes up in the long term, and then once that's shunted into the short term, we have above average upper air temperatures. So just a note of caution that basically don't get too excited about this. Precipitation, yeah, a lot of precipitation coming up. Temperature temperatures starting off mild today, slight drop to around low single figures, and then rising up towards 10 degrees there on Tuesday. But then again, we see a general cool down into the second half of January, and that is shown by this average line lowering towards the low single figures again. Below some ensemble members going below freezing in the long term as well. So something to watch. The operational run goes below freezing right at the very end of the run. ICON run. Let's look at the temperature temperatures. This doesn't go out very far, only up to January 12th, but you see the same sort of signal, slight lowering over the next few days, rise on Tuesday and lowering again. Precipitation looks like this. A few showers over today and tomorrow, big spike there on Tuesday, and more after that. Tuesday will probably be a very wet day for Ireland. I have more details in my video later on, and 850 HPA temperatures. We look like this. So now the GEM only has 20 ensemble members, so this looks a bit clearer. Again, lowering and rising, lowering, rising, zonal. But again, now we don't go as below average with the GEM because there's still quite a few mild ensemble graphs members up here. But still quite a cluster going for below average temperatures. Just something to watch for mid-January. That's why I'm showing you this. There's a colder trend on the ensembles for mid-January, but whether that will come, I'm not so sure about that. But I hope you enjoyed this special on the ensembles. We'll probably show you this next weekend. We'll see what happens, but I'll be back later on with another video. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.